in the name of multiculturalism. And they're going to be shutting down national governments in the name of global governance. Look at how this is playing out in Germany, for example. German schools are abolishing a Christian festival to avoid offending Muslim migrants. No, we can't have that culture under multiculturalism. A government's going to build 60 new houses for migrants while poor Germans are evicted. You see how that works? You bring in the refugees as a humanitarian effort, but then you take the people who are already in the country and you make them homeless in the name of compassion for refugees. Because what this is fundamentally about is this is about using the third world and its massive population as leverage against the first world nations who are the only ones who have the ability to stand up to these billionaires and their global governance schemes. So the first world countries need to be taken down. They need to be taken down by mass migration. They need to be taken down by redistribution of wealth at the national level. This other article here that we covered yesterday on the radio, German village of 102 braces for providing 750 people asylum. So they're going to have to, each of those people in that small village of 100 is going to have to provide asylum for 8 people. That's how they are swamping the first world nations. And of course, most in Europe don't understand what's going on. We had this classic story. This should be the metaphor for what's going on in Europe. Migrants sing jihadist songs at a refugee center, and the ignorant German volunteers applaud. Yes, ignorant and brainwashed. But those migrants, as they're coming in, were told that they're refugees from Syria, and we've reported many times how that is simply not the case. They're coming from a large number of areas. They're now disappearing into the woodwork, and that is going to be used as another part of the solution, another part of the global control. Stay with us when we come back. We're going to tell you how this is going to play out for universal biometric control. We'll be right back.
This is an American president. Just add puppet, then vote and repeat every 4 years.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Now is the time to secure Ancient Defense for you and your family. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. That's ancientdefense.com. Break down why you're so proud of these filters.
Well, I mean, the Alexa Pure is really a culmination of all of my experience. It was posed to me as an extremely challenging project. They wanted a product that would actually operate without any electricity, so you had no pressure. You had to do it all by gravity. And they really effectively said, we need everything imaginable to be removed efficiently, way higher than 99%. And so the result was, it's an extreme challenge. Worked on it for quite a long time. And basically what we've done is we've created the only filter, to my knowledge, that hits all three. It will remove effectively all the major metals, all the major non-metals such as fluoride. It will take out all known microbiological threats, including viral, bacterial, and cyst. And it will take out organic chemicals of pretty much everything without exception. It's a very, very powerful device. I don't believe that there's anything else out there in the world that can do that, especially under gravity flow conditions. The fit and finish are fantastic. No compromise was made on the quality of the construction. So, I mean, it's really a remarkable achievement on their part, and I feel very proud, actually, to be part of the team that put that together.
What's your view overall on fluoride?
Well, okay, so we actually tested against both the fluoride ion and the fluorosilicate that you mentioned, which is the additive that people put into water under federal control. And basically, we removed both of them with equal efficiency. So we wanted to be sure that no matter how fluoride is added to the water, it can be intercepted and removed. So that's how we've dealt with that. All I can tell you is that we tested against all known fluoride chemicals that are added to water, the new ones and the old ones, and we removed them all of equal efficiency.
And it's your belief that this is the best gravity-fed filter of the design out there available to the public?
Without a doubt. I mean, most of these gravity flow filters are at best simple particulate filters. They remove dirt and debris, sediment. They're not going to be capable of intercepting a viral particle to the degree we're talking quantitative reduction below detection. No one can touch that kind of capability.
Well, I'm impressed, and I want to thank you so much for your time today. It is the Alexa Pure Pro family of water filtration systems available, discounted exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank Mr. Redhawk for allowing us to be part of the launch of this. It's on sale right now for their main unit, $177. Leading competitors that aren't even as good are more than that. And they've also got the survival spring type straw system for survival that is an absolute must-have.
As we've been talking about in this program, this move towards global governance that we're going to see towards the end of this month is just one aspect of it. Of course, we see the open borders are pushing us in that direction. It's about increasing the entitlement state to a point of collapse. That's what Cloward and Piven talked about. But of course, they're also trying to erase national borders. They're trying to remove culture in the name of multiculturalism. That was what we were talking about when we pointed out the German schools abolishing Christian festivals. You've got to get rid of that culture and do it in the name of multiculturalism. We have to be intolerant in the name of tolerance. We have to confiscate wealth so that we can redistribute it and call that compassion. That's the way this is coming at us. But then, of course, there's another aspect of this as well. Not just the redistribution of wealth, not just the changing of authority from national sovereignty to a global sovereignty, but also they are bringing in what could potentially be a literal reign of terror with people that are coming into Europe and elsewhere, into the United States, through these open borders. Just take a look at what's going on. As we were talking about as we went to break, thousands of Muslim migrants disappearing from camps in Germany and elsewhere, primarily just in Germany. Look at what's happening just in Germany. Of course, that's their destination because that's where the pot of gold of the entitlement state is being offered to them, there and in Sweden primarily. They say on Wednesday alone, more than 600 people disappeared from their welcoming center. This is reported by Die Welt. One of their larger papers there. They say there's 700 refugees disappeared from Lower Saxony. Altogether, 7,000 have left and are AWOL. Where did they go? Where did my immigrants go? Well, there's a way to find them. We can enact a UN plan. See, problem, solution. Problem, solution. They create the problem. Even this, in this case, it's a real problem, not like global warming. But whatever the problem, they have a global solution to it. Look at this article on InfoWars.com. UN plans to implement universal biometric identification for all of humanity by 2030. And again, in this article, Michael Schneider goes back and references the UN Agenda 2030 article that I was reading from, that draft document that was there. Actually, it's not a draft document. They passed that. And he points out, did you know the UN intends to have biometric ID cards in the hands of every single man and woman and child on the entire planet by the year 2030, just 15 years from now? He says, did you know that there's already a central database in Geneva, Switzerland, collecting data from many of these cards? This is part of the 17 new global goals that the UN launched at the end of September, again at that conference that I pointed out, one of the 3 key conferences this year that they're pointing out. Prince Charles and the Pope and Schellenhuber, their Henry Kissinger, has all pointed out. Goal 16.9 says this is their target. By 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. So your birth will be registered to the UN. It'll be stored in Switzerland, and they will track you from birth. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Oh, there you go. See, that's how they're going to usher it in, through refugees. That's the reason, the rationale that they're going to use to track us all. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees is moving forward with plans to use biometric technology to identify and track refugees, and has selected a vendor for this project, Accenture. This company will collect facial, iris, and fingerprint biometric data. They will then work with Accenture's unique identity service platform to send this information back to a central database in Geneva, Switzerland. And they say they're going to get legal ID into the hands of everyone by the year 2030 with its Identification for Development, ID4D initiative. They've even got a great little acronym there for it. The ID4D initiative was originally launched by the World Bank. Always the usual suspects, right? And they're proud to be working side by side with the UN to get legal identity into the hands of all. Actually, they're going to be putting our identities into their own hands. They say, of course, he points out, this is still Michael Schneider's article. He says, of course, this is all being framed as humanitarianism. It's a venture right now, but will it always stay that way? And what will happen if and when you refuse to take this UN identity card? At that point, you will become an outcast from society, just as we see people in Germany who don't want to give up their culture, their language, their property to people who are being brought in. They are becoming outcasts. They are setting up tools to identify them. That was also done at the UN. The Strong Cities Network is focused not on Islamic jihadis who might be coming in. It is focused on people who react to that. People who are anti-migrant, anti-Islam. Those are the extremists that they're looking for, not those other droids. Those are the ones they're looking for. Just look at this article from the New York Times. FBI tool to identify extremists is criticized. So the FBI has come up with a program. They're going to give this to teachers and students, try to train them to not be drawn into violent extremism. Nevertheless, people are saying, oh, this is just focusing on Islamic extremism. It's Islamophobic, okay? And they say this hasn't been a factor in the epidemic of school shootings and attacks in the United States. There's their pivot. That's where they pivot to us, okay? They say it's misplaced priorities. This is a person who is part of a Sikh organization. He says the greatest threat facing American school children today is gun violence, not Muslim extremism. There you go. That's how they're going to move it to us. Now, when we look at all of this and we look at what our government is doing and how this is all being changed by a few billionaires, I have to ask you, do you really think that you are part of a fantasy politics league? Do you realize that the two teams are owned by billionaires in this fantasy politics league? You know, Jeb Bush talked about fantasy sports. He was given that question. And of course, he said, well, gee, that's something we really ought to look at regulating. You know, his first instinct is there ought to be a law somehow. We need to shut that down. And he says this is kind of like day trading where there's no regulation. What he was doing was he was offering himself out to Sheldon Adelson when he starts talking about, yeah, you know, this is kind of like, this could be like gambling. We need to shut this down because he is running out of money. Yeah, his little exclamation mark is limp, okay? And he's dragging that thing around trying to get somebody to send him some money. This story from Politico says the Bush team is bracing for a cash crunch. So who's he going to get that money from? Well, that money is going to be coming from billionaires who are going to be contributing to super PACs. And he's not getting any of that money coming into him from individual donors. Remember that when he began his campaign, he drew in about $150 million. It was a huge, huge haul from billionaires. It went into his super PAC, but he can't get access to that money. The super PACs spend their money independent of the candidates. So he can't pay his staff with that money, and nobody is contributing to him. As a matter of fact, they're not contributing to his super PACs anymore either. And so we see this article that came out from Our Streets, and it was commented on by National Review, and they questioned whether or not Donald Trump's campaign is broken. And I thought it was interesting because what they did was they looked at how much was spent and how much was owed, and they say, well, you know, he hasn't gone to outside donors for money, so he's heavily in debt, but he's in debt to himself. And they ask a good question. If he's a real estate investment tycoon, is he going to be able, does he have that cash on hand? Or is he going to have to liquidate properties? If he does so, will he have to do so at fire sale prices? But I think even more important than that analysis is when you look at the ranking of candidates by super PACs. You can see that Jeb Bush is number one. There he is, $103 million with super PACs. And of course, Donald Trump has gotten zero from super PACs. He hasn't been getting funded by other billionaires. But that is precisely his problem. Now, Rubio doesn't have that problem. Rubio just landed a major donor. And of course, Paul Singer has just thrown his support behind Marco Rubio. It looks like Marco Rubio is also going to win the Sheldon Adelson primary. See, those are the primaries that really matter.